Hey, what's going on, creatives? Welcome back to the Almost Creative Podcast. If you don't know by now, my name is Travis Heberling, and I am joined today by my co-host,
Christian Diaz.
And we are out of state. We're in Iowa, not Illinois. And we thought this would be a great time to start a sub-series that I like to call Riches Are in the Niches, where basically we dive into one specific industry that you could work in doing photography and videography and dissect that. And for this one, we thought it'd be very fitting since we're traveling. We're filming a conference, we're filming stuff for a keynote speaker, that we would talk about that and that topic. And this is actually an industry that I think a lot of people forget even exists, that, you know, there's these events that happen that aren't weddings, they're not birthday parties, they're not like your typical event. They're conferences, there's expos, there's speakers, and they need content more now than ever. And so I thought it'd be really cool to talk about this topic. I have a lot of experience with it. I know Chris is kind of growing in that experience. So we just thought we'd bring this topic and we'd talk about it. So if you guys don't know this, they call him Chaos Chris because he causes chaos with his nose.
You know, I'm being accused of being a snorer
by
my coworker.
If you don't know, so if you're
know because it's not true.
If you're a mom or dad, you probably will get this reference. But our guy here, Chris, sleeps like Bingo from Bluey. And we'll throw up a photo. We'll have Robbie throw up a photo.
Just be like a corpse.
Yeah,
like.
And so so I'm not really too surprised that he snores because he looked extremely uncomfortable every time he woke me up. Now this is what's really funny. So you know how like when you're dreaming and then your dream starts to mesh with real life?
Yeah.
Well, it was also raining last night, and for whatever reason, the patter of the rain on this hotel sounds like someone typing at a keyboard. So as I was kind of waking up, I was dreaming that Chris stayed up all night editing a vlog and was like typing really fast while snoring. So that was my visual of.
The funny thing is, you then told me you never sleep well on the first night of a hotel.
Well, yeah, especially when
so it's not
the person next to you is snoring.
No. It's not my snoring that's the
problem.
I
didn't say I don't sleep well. I said I sleep well. I just usually wake up early. So waking up at 1 a.m. to someone snoring is not early. That's just being woke up in the middle of the night.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
I'll
give you if I snore. I'll give you that because I've never had a complaint before. So I don't know. I feel like this is personal.
This is what all snorers do.
All snorers,
they're all in doubt.
Yeah, no, they're all in denial. I'll give you. I was tired as hell. I had my retainers in. I was sleeping on my back. I'll give you a perfect combination. I'll give it to you. But enough to wake you up is crazy. I doubt it. I'm 22.
That's what every snorer says. Every snorer is in doubt. It's always this, you know, and you could probably relate if you know a snorer. You want to record them so you have proof, but then you feel weird about recording them while they sleep, so you don't do it. And then they wake up the next morning and they're in total denial. So it is what it is. But we're not here to talk about snoring and sleep apnea. We're here to talk about video production, I guess. Is that what we talk about on this podcast? I don't know what we talk about.
Basically, I just want to ask you questions in place of the audience, just basically being like, what got you in this industry? Like, what does this sector of videography include? How can I be someone who films these sort of events? What exactly are these events? Like, first of all, like, it's not weddings. We've talked about weddings on this podcast a lot, but that's not actually the main thing that we do. So what is it? Who can you find here? Who do you get hired by? Like, I want to know someone who wants to do this full time, right? Because the economy is bad and I know there's money here. So kind of tell me, like, what does this industry entail?
Yeah, I mean, it entails a lot of things. Like when you hear conference, you might think of a lot of different things. You might think of like a car show. You might think of, something that, you know, my boss makes me go to. It's like really boring. You might think of, you know, if you're a photographer, videographer, you might think of something like WPPI or something like that. So there's a lot of different versions of conferences, but, you know, I think I like taking WPPI as an example because, you know, I know our audience is a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
That's one they probably know about. There's a lot of those for other industries. And so you kind of name any niche, there's probably a conference for it. So
is it just conferences? Is there other things included in that?
Well, conference is kind of a broad word. So like when I say conference, I'm applying that to expos, like people speaking on a stage, things that have breakout sessions. Like even sometimes these are internal. So like we did one time for a company that makes like robotics and robot stuff. That was just for their employees, but they had like 150 employees, so it made sense for them to do that. So they did like a, an innovation day where they had a few speakers, they had breakout sessions, but that was just internal for them, and they had a budget to have all that filmed, and they saw the value in that. But then you also have conferences where it might be like, going back to my example, WPPI, where it's open to an industry, which is portrait wedding photographers and videographers. And in those, they have breakout sessions, and they have breakout sessions, they have workshops, they have networking, they have parties, they have the expo show floor where you can go see Sony and Canon and Nikon and all the companies. So it really can look different in different ways. And you have to realize too, like, not every conference is probably going to want to have it documented, and some of them can't because it's like internal use stuff. But really what a conference kind of comes down to is it's a chance for some kind of organization or a company to bring together a certain industry or niche and have them all in one place. And it could be for different reasons. We filmed one event called the Build Conference, and there's vendors there with booths. And really what the Build Conference is trying to do is they're trying to attract subcontractors, general contractors, people in the trades, and the people who have booths would be people like us who maybe do video or photography for that person. It might be IT for that kind of industry. And then there's also these breakout sessions going on that's trying to help them better their skill set. But where we fall in the line with that is you have the one place we can fall in line where maybe you're getting a booth at this place because maybe you work with that industry and you want to get in front of more of them. But also we could be the ones capturing it. So like I've done photo and video for conferences that is probably not my target market and I have no real interest in pursuing, but they need it documented. So that's where they become my client, essentially.
From a broader sense of view, how is this project different, like from a commercial, from a narrative project? Well, like how is that different for the client? Maybe the deliverables. How's the process different?
What's interesting with conferences and expos is I think there hasn't been a lot of creativity. You're seeing more of it now than ever. But I mean, even when I first really started doing these more frequently, it was like 2019. And that's where I really kind of fell in love with them. And it didn't take much to impress because what they were used to was kind of your typical guy shows up a camcorder, just records the whole person speaking, wide shot, not great audio. And that's what they would deliver is just here's the full edit of someone speaking. I mean, it's good maybe if someone needs to go back and rewatch that, but it's not very creative. It's not really a marketing piece. And so what we usually get hired for is more like a sizzle reel type thing where we come in, we make like almost like a highlight video. That video, incorporates the people speaking on stage, the networking events, all the fun and activity they had.
Some color, yeah.
Yeah. And then also we might even interview people, like do testimonials and things like that and try to build a narrative. And really what they're using this, like, I call it a sizzle reel. I also kind of call it like a FOMO edit. Like essentially it's hey, you didn't come to our conference this year. It happens every year. You missed out. Here's what you missed. And it's like this really cool video that's like, shoot, I should have been there. Like, look at all these people who are there. I missed out on this. And then they also use it then going forward of, hey, like, this is what it was like last year. It's going to be even bigger this year. You better be there. And then that person who might sign up is getting FOMO. They're like, oh, shoot, I can't miss out on this. So
can I ask you then, because you said like, it's very different. You miss out.
Yeah.
It's different from how conference videos used to be.
Yeah.
How do you then stand out and how do you land these clients? Well, first part, how do you land these clients? How do you then stand out?
Getting conferences is kind of like getting weddings in a way, because typically these conferences are happening at a hotel or some kind of space like that. And so, and usually there's a planner. There's a corporate planner. They're sometimes they plan weddings too, and they do this on the side or vice versa, or that's all they do is they just plan conferences and expos. And so that's usually who you want to get in front of, because to be honest, like the person who's probably organizing this event, they have already so many other things going on their plate that they're not even thinking about like, how do I market this? They would rather just hire someone for that. So sometimes the owner of that conference or owners or the board or whatever, they might not even be the right person to market to. Who you're actually maybe looking for are these hotels who host these events, or the planners that these people would hire to help put this event together.
How have we gotten these jobs? Through Google, through YouTube, through...
Yeah, so it has been like kind of the venues and planners, but like how they're finding us is often like Google or like a referral. Just like going back to weddings again, I know we reference it, but there is a lot of overlap and lead generation with these. A lot of times these are coming from referrals and connections. So like, you know, two of the things we have this year came from a photographer, and I usually refer him when I have an event. And so there's that relationship that gets built. But also like building relationships with these planners, just like you would with a wedding. Really, what a lot of videographers miss is not only are you trying to do an excellent job for that couple and for their friends and their family, you kind of want to impress that venue too, and you want to impress that planner. It's the same thing with these. You want to impress whoever is kind of making these decisions. So then when they have to plan their next event, or they have to plan, maybe it's not another event, but it's the same event, but their event next year, they're thinking of you first. So
You've joked to me about running around with a Canon C200, C300, right? And we just run around with like lighter equipment. What makes for a good kit, and better yet, what makes for a good videographer? Like if we wanted to take one of our people of our audience, how do we train them to become the best videographer to take to more expos?
yeah, so it matters where you're going. Sometimes with these things, I have to travel, and obviously you have to pack lighter for those kind of things, or you have to find someone local who can bring in some gear. But if it is a local event, like in your backyard kind of thing, you have a lot of freedom to bring whatever you want, but at the same time, you want to still move lightly. I always kind of joke that conferences are like weddings on easy mode. There's a lot of similarities the way you get them, but also the way you shoot them, because it is a live event. You don't have a lot of control over what happens. It's just, it's a little less stress. That first kiss could happen any minute, whereas like, that speaker's gonna be on the stage for like an hour. So you got some time, but at the same time, you can't screw it up because they're only gonna be up there once. They're not going back up there. I mean, a lot of these keynote speakers are high profile people. So it's like, they're probably flying to go speak at some other thing the next day. So you can't screw stuff like that up. So you want to be fairly lightweight, but you also want to make sure you have enough coverage to kind of cover yourself. And so when it comes to it, like, you wanna be able to like provide, your few tripods, your few cameras. You definitely have to have telephoto in this kind of scenario. You can't just be like up in front of the stage, especially because as we've experienced in Chicago is very unionized when it comes to AV. So what we found is, like, let's say we film, if you're familiar with like the McCormick Center, it's this huge facility in Chicago, and they host like huge events. And so when we go there's like red tape on how much we can do. So like we're welcome to do photography. We're welcome to make sizzle reels. We can run with a gimbal. We can maybe plant one tripod. But once we start like dropping multiple tripods, we're setting up lights, we're setting up audio, we're going to get shut down because they have to hire a union for that. And there's like red tape there. So you want to kind of have a smaller profile, because you don't want to like kind of fire the alarm that they're like, oh, you're overlapping with us, let me think where I was going to go with that. And so, so there's, you definitely want to have a professional presence. The good thing with like these more higher end conferences, you don't really need to worry about lighting unless it's like, lighting the cocktail hour or something like that. Like usually they're going to have big stage lights. And oh, sorry, I know I was talking about the union. And so going back to what I was talking about the union. So where I was going with that essentially is, they're also a lot of times recording, or if they're not recording, they're broadcasting to the projectors. So some of these conferences we do, it's like 800 to thousands of people. And so there's people in those back rows, they can't even see the stage really. So then they'll have these big projectors and they're broadcasting. So you can't be like up front with your 35 millimeter, like shooting whatever you want, because now you're in the broadcast, and you're going to ruin them. Now you're having a bad relationship with them. So you definitely need like telephoto. You need to be able to have that reach. That's super important. And the good thing, again, like you don't usually have to worry about lighting because that's being taken care of. Usually audio is a breeze because there is union there. They have this whole AV setup. So you just go talk to them. They get you plugged in. So a lot of things are convenient, but you just have to know like what you're walking into, because we also do some conferences. Like, for example, what we're doing right now, we're not actually filming the conference. We're getting material for one of their speakers. And so they're not too worried about the documentation. So like when we walked into the room today, there was no real light set up. So we went in and set up our own lights. So there are those exceptions where you have to kind of take control yourself. But I would say for any like larger conference, they already got all that stuff locked down for you.
Now that you mention it, it does really remind me of a wedding, because the skills that at least come to mind is you have to be able to capture good sound. Now you can mic people, or you have to talk to the person there, like, you know, network with the person there, whether it be the DJ or AV, getting good quality. You can't really do some things. Sometimes you can't really do anything about the lighting, so you have to work around lighting. You have to be invisible but also present, making sure you get stuff and anticipate scenes that are coming on. And then, like you said, the coverage, like all of our keynote guests that we've had, that clients, all of our keynote clients that have hired us, they say they like the color. And when I say color, that's a term in the industry where like you get people reacting, people smiling. Like our client today, two people told us that they really want to get women laughing at the jokes in their videos. And it's like, even couples say that too. It's not just the best man talking the whole time. You get like mom and dad crying. You get a cousin Vinny that came in from out of town. Uh, you get more scenes that really brings an atmosphere and vibe to the video rather than it just being a long recording that no one's gonna really watch.
Yeah, and if you think of wedding videos from like 2000, like early 2000s, they were very like boring. It was like usually it's like one guy, one camera, not a very high quality camera, and he just kind of would point it at the main action, and that was your wedding video. And that's what conference videos are a lot of times, and they've kind of taken longer to evolve. You know, obviously if it's a really big deal conference or it's something like in the tech industry, they're already ahead of this. They're probably hiring someone who's doing creative work. They might even have someone on their own team doing this. But a lot of these other conferences, they haven't really kept up with the times. So they still just hire like some dude with a camcorder to record it. And that's not going to move the needle for anyone when it comes to marketing. Like that's not interesting to see. So what we're trying to create is something intriguing where it's not just a camera point at who's speaking. It's like you're getting angles of people reacting, laughing to, clapping. You know, you're running around getting different things. You're getting time lapses. You're getting drone footage of the venue. You know, like really mixing it up with a variety, just like you would do with a wedding film nowadays. Yeah. And you're trying to tell a story of this event. And what I like about it is there's a challenge aspect to it where, you know, one of the first conferences I did, it was extremely dry. I mean, like literally a guy would just go up on the stage and just read from a PowerPoint, like didn't move. And this because they weren't public speakers. It was kind of more of an internal thing. And the information they were sharing, it was like spot on with their industry, but it was very boring to the outside person. So I had to find ways to make that interesting. And they were like blown away whenever like we played a teaser the last day and people were shocked. They're like, wow, like you took, I mean, they said this themselves. They're like, this is an extremely boring topic and you made it look like sexy. I mean, that was basically that was their words. They're like, this is a boring topic and you made it look sexy. And they like use that everywhere in their marketing then for the next year to be like, hey, like we're not that boring, you know, it's like we're fun. We have a good time, even though it's kind of boring.
So then walk me through what are some of the deliverables that we give our clients to hire us? And then like kind of that we've been talking about, how do you kind of stand out with those deliverables?
Yeah, so it can vary. Like I was saying, sometimes we are not allowed to do long form, you know, like depending on where we're filming at. But if it's something where they have more control, typically I kind of have like 3 tiers. And then that's what I use to try to figure out what exactly they're looking for. So first tier would be like very basic. It'd like just be myself, just a sizzle reel. That's it. Pretty bare bones. Next step would be, hey, we're doing like the sizzle reel. I'm bringing a second person. Maybe we'll do some interviews, some testimonials, kind of add an extra layer of depth. So it's not just music with visuals. It's like now there's some narrative bits. And then the third would be, okay, like you actually want these breakout sessions filmed in their full, you know, length. You want to have the keynotes filmed. So now it becomes almost maybe a team of like 3, 4, 5 people, because these breakout sessions, if you're not familiar, a lot of times they're happening at the same time. So you might have 3 sessions, 4 sessions at that one time slot. So you need a videographer in each one of those sections. And so we do have that as an option too. Obviously that's the most expensive package that they would possibly do, but it's going to give them tons of content and the kind of people that benefits. So like some of these conferences we do, it is very internal what the breakout sessions are. So they don't need the whole thing filmed. They just wanted some quick clips to show that it happened, but they don't need it. Whereas we have others where they actually make money off of investing with us, where they have us film the whole breakout session and then they offer people like a VIP upgrade, you know, where it's like, okay, if you sign up for the VIP, you get to have like an exclusive dinner and we're going to give you a library of all the classes. So that's really appealing to someone because if they're going as like a one man woman team and they're not going with anyone else, they can't go to all the breakout sessions because they're happening at the same time. But now they can go back and watch the recordings of the ones they missed. So there's a value add that they do by investing with us capturing everything.
So to you listening, we've been talking a lot about keynotes and expos and everything, but I kind of keep forgetting that like we're here for one client, right?
Yeah.
And that client is a keynote speaker. So everything that you just said, what would someone like me need to know to tailor it to just be a keynote speaker?
Well, fun fact, we're here for 2 people now because we actually got an upsell
Yeah.
by being here, which is kind of a fun thing. Yeah, it was pretty
You wanna tell
crazy.
them about that?
Yeah, there was a, basically this guy reached out to me. He was a referral from another keynote speaker we know. And shout out to Scott if he watches this. He probably doesn't. He's probably too busy.
I don't think he has any time.
He probably has no time to listen to 2 yahoos yak about camera gear. But yeah, so basically he reached out. He wanted to build a sizzle reel, and he had this event coming up where he's speaking twice. They have a booth. He has some old content, and he wanted to film like just some brand content, like him doing an interview, getting some B-roll, things like that. And so so we were already planning on doing this, and I wouldn't advise just doing this outright. I would check with your client first, and that's what we did when we did our final call.
Yeah.
I reached out. I'm like, hey, I saw there's another keynote speaker. Would you be okay if I like asked her if we could film? He's like, yeah, that's totally cool. Like, I have no problem with that. So I reached out to her. She's also traveling all the time. So it took a little while for us to coordinate. We actually talked to her on our car ride here the day before she's supposed to speak. And basically she just was like, yes, exactly what I've been needing. Everyone's been telling me I need stuff. Like, you're solving a problem I had. And it was just by us asking like, hey, do you want your session filmed? And so she immediately booked with us. And so we actually ended up getting a little bit extra money out of being here because we reached out to the other keynote speakers. So that's kind of a side little tip
like
as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that, hey, like reach out to other people there. And that kind of also leads into, these are marketing opportunities for us. Like I said, sometimes they're not really our industry, but even like I just did one recently where it's for power washers. And again, going back to what I was saying, there's conferences for everything.
Dude.
Like power washers, like who would have thought? And there's a whole industry for that. And so even though those power washers probably aren't really my target market, there were companies there who were intrigued by what I was doing. And some of them were local, and now they're interested in making video content. And so you always have to be thinking too, like while you're at these are networking opportunities. Again, if you're hired by someone, you don't want to step on any toes. Again, they're the focus, but there might be some open doors that happen because you're here. But going back to what you're asking about, so we sometimes just get hired by the speaker, and that's happened a few times. I feel like it's becoming more common because these speakers know how important that content is. And their sizzle reel is like our portfolio or like our demo reel. Like they need some high quality video that can showcase their capacity, and kind of the lower the quality, the less serious they're going to be taken. And so they need high quality video that shows they're capable of speaking on these big stages with big crowds, and that they can have a presence there. And so we have speakers who will reach out. And what's great about speakers is, what's funny, they're usually individuals. I mean, sometimes they are a team, but it's usually just an individual person who is trying to grow something. A lot like a realtor. A lot of times the realtors are individuals. The difference is the speakers actually have money. So like they're much better to pursue than realtors because,
they also know what they want.
Yeah, they know what they want, and they know they need high quality. That's the difference too. Realtors feel like they can get away with just whatever, whereas you can't. That doesn't fly when you're a speaker. Like,
I was gonna say, like as the general public, you think speaker and you speak motivational reel, and I'm thinking TEDx and high quality. But when you actually look into the industry, a lot of speaker videos are not like, they're not up there.
Yeah.
They look, I feel like they look dated. I don't know how else to explain it. They look like they're 10, 15 years old.
Yeah. And what I found, and this isn't just from me and it's not from my clients, it's actually from my clients' coaches and people who are like 10 steps ahead of them, like some high profile people. And they've all been impressed with the things we've turned around because it's not just the person on the stage. That's where a lot of these speakers get it wrong, is they might have high quality footage, but it's just them on stage. One, venue after the other. Whereas what I've been trying to do is to try to tell a story in their sizzle reel to the best of my ability. I mean, so I'm not always filming everything they have, so I have to kind of utilize some of this old footage and stuff. But we're trying to piece together something that is going to captivate someone versus just like, here's one time of me speaking, here's another time of me speaking, and really making it a narrative about them. And where that happens is showing people in the crowd interacting, showing the person going up on
Yeah, I was
stage
gonna
in
say the
slow
B-roll of
motion.
like them pointing at the camera and
Right.
like kind of saying, "I'm a hot shot and you're not." I do like the fact that we're like going back to the add-ons. Like we got another client out of getting permission from this client. I feel like there's always a little bit of more money to be made here. Speaking of add-ons, tell your client that you can do photography if you're a video only business. Tell them that you can do photography. Tell them that you could do a headshot booth, because I know that people, especially when it's like a little bit more buttoned up, people are interested in having their headshots taken. Tell them that's something that you can offer. Set up an area for people to come in, take their headshots, give them to them instantly, send them to their email, right? We could also set up photo booths. Like think of other ways that you can pitch it to them, because more likely than not, they're gonna find another vendor. And if you're taking any sort of budget cuts, like any sort of budget cuts, because or like let's say your client hires you and they say, hey, this is going to be a lot of exposure. You're going to connect you to businesses that are going to be here. You're going to get business. Make sure you have an exclusivity contract. You don't want to be taking this for exposure and then have someone else there who is competing with you. We had a story where we were at an expo and we kind of took that deal. We got a booth. We were like, hey, we're going to be here and we're going to connect to businesses. There was another videography team there who wasn't doing exactly where we were doing, so technically it's not the same thing. And the guy got mad and decided, you know what, I'm gonna leave. Like he just left the whole conference. He's not giving them footage. He's just gone. You don't want to be in those hostile situations. Well, what I'm trying to say is, like, we're trying to be calm about it, but like understanding its mindset, he probably took an extreme budget cut for exposure, and now there's another team here.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna offer those things because there's more money to be made, but offer them so you make sure that you can get as much visibility for your business as well.
You want to make sure too that like it's really like if you are exchanging your time, because sometimes you're going to maybe get someone reaching out and they're going to be like, well, we have this audience and we'll give you a booth, but you got to do everything for free. You got to really dig in and make sure like, what is this place about? Because what I found too is a lot of these conferences, especially these larger ones, they're terrible at marketing. Like even one of the ones we did, when I posted the video, it got more traction than like when they posted it themselves, because they don't know how to tag. Like that's something you got to think of too. Like if they're trying to back up that like they have credibility and they have a big following, you got to really research that. See how they're sharing their other stuff, because if they're not even like tagging and inviting people as collaborators, like they're going to post your video and it's just going to die out there. And it's like, well, now you're not getting any traction. But if you go into it with a plan, you could really capitalize on that. Because like if you can get like a vendor list or something, or an expo list, then you can be sharing your video out to those people. But you got to make sure that kind of stuff is like included, because if you're just kind of going into it and you're like, well, they told me that I get a booth and there's no real plan, you're just probably not going to get anything out of it. So.
I do agree with that sentiment, because like in my experience, when I've filmed for you and filmed for like freelance for other companies, I've tended to notice, because the Midwest is a big producer, right? The manufacturing industry, the distribution industry, right? Shipping industry, they're all really good money makers, but they kind of suck and they're not tied to marketing. Like that's not something, they're not really into consumerism. A lot of time they're giving their product directly to a distributor, directly to someone else. So like you're saying, coming in with a plan, coming in with a way to tell them this is exactly what you need to do, and we even have a way to audit if you're doing it the best way possible, I think it's a real help to your client, and it's just another value add.
I know we've been more heavily on the video, but I think pretty much all this pertains to photography as well. And what I would say more so with photography is, sometimes with video, like I was saying, we'll deliver like a same day edit or end of conference edit where they play a video, like pretty much like the last keynote to play before the last keynote, just get everyone hyped for the next year. And those are really cool. But like a lot of times what they want instantly is the photo, because that's easier for them to share.
Yeah.
So that's something too. If like you're a photographer who's wanting to get into this, you got to be quick on the edits. Like you can't wait to deliver these photos like 2 weeks later. Like you actually probably should be editing those photos like as the conference is going on. And that's crucial. And I think what would be fun, we'll throw it out there now. Like if people like this topic and they want to learn more, especially on the photo side, we should bring Larry on one for one because like that's all
Oh,
he
yeah,
does is shoot.
absolutely.
He like shoots conference all
We've
the time.
gotten a lot
He
of
was
work with
one that
Larry.
kind of opened
We
my
love
eye
you,
to
Larry.
like, yeah, you should definitely be delivering the photos right way. Like he's kind of a beast when it comes to like shooting. And he kind of knows like when to take a break to start editing, and he goes back to it. And I think he even started implementing some like AI editing stuff or something too. But yeah, you got to be on that, and that's going to extremely impress because like they probably have some social media person running around with their phone, and that's fine. But like if you give them a gallery like the day before and be like, hey, I'm going to be dropping photos in here as the conference is going on, and at any time they could sign into this gallery and they're pulling photos they want to use for their social media, that's huge.
Live.
Like that's going to make like a huge impact, and it's easier for them than a video too. Like the video, they kind of need a little more probably planning it out to post it, but to just have some photos they could be throwing up that are professional, like it's a huge help. So
Yeah, that's part of the customer service aspect as well. I keep saying this again because it's something that I wasn't thinking this way when I started this job. Um, we as like creatives, we're so focused on the end product and making something that's really good. But a lot of times our clients are coming to us because we're like easy to work with. That's part of
yeah.
our like your presence when you're there is part of your brand. So if you're giving them stuff immediately, like instant gratification, but you're also making it usable for them, like you're giving them a return on their investment, it just makes it's a no-brainer to bring you
Yeah, I
back.
mean it's an experience thing too. Like to be able to play a video highlight of the past 3-4 days or however long the conference
Mm.
was at the end, and kind of get everyone excited for like the next one, and people to be like, oh, there's me, there's like that kind of thing. And sometimes they're like emotional too. Like depending on what people are saying, it's like bringing them back to that keynote speaker or whatever, and it's getting them all emotional again. That's like super value add for this conference to be able to have that asset that like no like most videographers probably wouldn't have delivered. But then it's like a huge marketing piece for yourself. Like
Yeah.
I've done this a few times. One in particular I remember very clearly where they played the video and immediately a lady came up to me and she's like, that was awesome, is this like what you guys do all the time?
Yeah.
And then she ended up having me do like some editing work for their company. They weren't even based in Illinois, they were from another state, but she just wanted someone to help them with some like a marketing video they wanted to do, and it was all because she saw that video I played. Whereas like I've been running around all day with the camera, she never came up to me then. I guess she didn't click.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
after seeing a video, she's like, I need to talk to this person. So
Something last thing about like the quick turnarounds that I'm thinking about a client we had where we were giving all them stuff throughout the 3 days. There was a like a teaser video at the end of the 3 days that they played for everyone, and then they play that the day of like their award night, right? So there's like more things to go on, and I think for that award night specifically, we ended up going on a yacht around the city. So that was pretty cool, but it's like you're kind of you're tying yourself, you're tying your company and your end product to a like a high moment. You're tying yourself like to the end. You're tying yourself to a like dopamine hit, and you're gonna when they think of you, they're gonna think of that high experience.
yeah, well, you're not, like that's a thing that I think a lot of creators fall in the trap of. They kind of fall into the line of like the hired help where they have their lane they're in, and everyone's just kind of looking at them like, oh, that's the videographer just doing their thing. That's just the photographer doing their thing. When you deliver something like that, now you're part of the experience. Like you're adding to this event. Like it's almost like if you weren't there, the event wouldn't have been the same. And that's like what our goal is to kind of set a tone of like, this wouldn't have gone the same if you would have went with this other company. Like you'd be waiting like 2 months on your video, but because you went with us, we added to your event. Like we made like a moment happen at your event.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
that's true. Because then you get to, I mean, that's something we've done recently. You get those clients that say, hey, we want to have you back. We want to fly you back. We want to, because like we don't want to do this without you.
I mean, even just we just shot something this weekend, and I gave her the footage, and then like pretty much 2 days after she's seen all the footage, she's asking about her next event, and
Yeah.
She had mentioned she's very picky. She's like, I don't think she's stuck with like the same team ever. Like from what I kind of gather, I don't know if that's true. I don't want to make
Isn't
up
that
stories, but I
yeah.
think it was something like that where it sounded like she's used different people because she was never satisfied with the final product, and now less than a week after filming, she's already asking us to do the next one.
Isn't that kind of true to us about different conventions? They hire different photographers, but they always bring us back.
Well, the only reason I ever share anything is like I want it to add.
It paints a
I want it
picture,
to be
though.
a tip, essentially.
Yeah.
Like if I ever share like how much we charge for like a commercial thing, or like how this client called us back. It's to kind of paint a picture of like, these are the steps that we do that gets us work, you know, and I just want to be able to share that. So, you know, so I never want to come across as boasting, because I started feeling a little like boast guilty there for a little bit,
like
but it isn't like a ego thing or like, look how cool we are. It's hey, this is what we do to get our clients, and I want to share that. So,
well, I mean, the reason that I feel like happy telling people about this is because, you know, we are in a pretty bad economy right now, or at least we're really feeling it. And this is one of those things where it's like, I don't think people realize how underutilized it is. I don't think people realize how much money there is in these. Not that, like, you know, we want to become rich. It's just saying, like, if you want to keep your business afloat, these are the sort of clients that you should probably be taking on every once in a while.
And when you're talking to them, you got to think kind of big picture and like farther out. Like that's actually a question I sometimes ask, and I don't tell them exactly why I'm asking it, but I'll ask them, how much does it cost for someone to come to this? You know, it might be $200, maybe it's $2,000. Some of these things are more exclusive where they really want people to pony up, and, you know, so 4,000, let's say, you know, on average, it's probably more like $500 a ticket, you know, and you're filling a room of 800 people. I didn't do well in math. That's why I had to keep retaking it. But so I won't do the math here live, but you do the math at home. You know, $500 with 800 people, and that's the basic ticket. They might have a VIP upgrade. They might have some other things going on. And yes, there's a lot of expenses to run a conference and to book these keynote speakers.
Absolutely.
But when you kind of paint the picture to them of like, okay, if we make this video and it lands you one more ticket next year, two more tickets next year, you start kind of talking that language with them. It becomes a no-brainer for them. It's like, yeah, to pay for you guys, I need to close like, you know, 5 tickets or whatever. Like, let's do this, you know, like it's a no-brainer. So
especially for them in percentages where you're like, if we do this, you can expect to see about 15 to 20% more more attendees next year.
So this has been fun, but obviously we got to get back to work. We got a job to do while we're here. So we're going to wrap this up.
Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Almost Creative. Let me know if you guys like this mini-series of The Riches Are in the Niches, where we talk about different industries or different sectors of videography. I hope you really enjoyed what we talked about, but if you're a specialist in this industry, or you know, hey, I know this thing and I have it really dialed down, you would love to come on, we would love to have you on our show. Anyways, thank you for tuning in, and stay creative.